Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today, we're gonna jump into some stories from the ProRevenge subreddit. Our first story today comes to us from a deleted account. Make my job hard because you didn't get the promotion and call me a mutt. No pay raise for you. No working from home for you. No job for you. Let's jump right in. I was offered a job role in mid-2019 in middle management at an aged care service. The GM that hired me worked with me previously, and we both had a similar vision and expectations. He helped me get a really good job with his reference, and he ended up moving to another organization as a general manager, which was well-deserved. A year later, he called me up and he had a role for me and wanted me to come across to his agency. The team I ended up managing had a senior employee we'll call Karen, a woman in her 40s, an actual Karen haircut, and large rectangle spectacles with the reddest lipstick and smelt like a department store fragrance section, who claimed to know everything and had been in the organization for 9 years. She was expecting to be given the role due to her seniority and was highly agitated once she found out that the GM had brought in an ex-colleague to fill the role. Karen was toxic and didn't take well to not automatically getting the management role, but also to me putting in KPIs and have clear expectations around the work which didn't exist prior. Her attitude towards me was nothing but disgusting and provided myself with nothing but resentment from the moment I walked through the door. One of the first conversations I had with Karen that never left me was that she told me, "You don't deserve this role, you haven't earned it." That sat with me for a while and played with my self-confidence, as this was my first management position where I was managing a large team. Our team was mainly young and easily influenced. Karen had been whispering rubbish into their ears and manipulating them into thinking I was out to replace them by implementing unrealistic KPIs. They were actually super easy. She was also BFFs with the state manager Sharon, which gave her a lot of protection. But luckily, our team didn't fall under the state manager's department reporting line. Sharon was known as being ruthless in her department, and everyone was too scared to oppose her. My revenge came through circumstance and a little through my own planning. I was enjoying the role, but have to admit that Karen made my job really difficult. Having an internal ball breaker in my team hurt morale, but also productivity. Karen didn't see the need for one-on-one catch-ups because apparently she knew more than me and it was a waste of her time. Everything I discussed was met with an excuse, rebuttal, or denial. I documented everything and I knew she wouldn't read it, and she blindly signed it afterwards without reading it because it came back to my desk within seconds of me handing it to her. At the time, we were introducing working from home as we were running out of space in the office. All she kept saying is she wanted to work from home because of time, public transport, and the fact she probably wanted to do nothing and have no accountability. She would be the last person I would want working from home, as she is always blaming the computer for being slow, the internet, her keyboard not working, her VPNs not connecting, her database not logging in. She would be a nightmare and absolutely take the piss. Most likely just smoke all day and think this is the life. I provided feedback in our one-on-one catch-ups along the lines of smoke breaks are to be taken during your morning break, lunch, and afternoon break, not every hour for 15 minutes, leaving early without notice, and about her phone metrics around picking up the phone. We weren't a call center, but let's just say she had a 5% pickup rate and she would be getting around 40 calls a day. Answering phones was beneath her, and the team was starting to get really annoyed because she was always smoking, never answering the phones, and always being negative. My team, God bless them, started to see her for who she was. Historically, the company had previously given everyone exceeds expectations on their annual performance review to keep a happy culture, which would ultimately lead to a remuneration increase and employees having a false expectation of rewarding subpar performance. Because she had a 5% pickup rate on the phones, took more breaks than anyone else, did less work than anyone else, had a 50% attendance rate for team meetings, and also didn't listen, I gave her an unsatisfactory as an overall score, which was the lowest. Karen missed out on her REM increase and was warned that she would be put on a performance management if she didn't start showing improvement. I don't think Karen had ever been spoken to like that at work and actually given hard-hitting feedback. Karen was angry. Karen took me to HR claiming I was bullying, saying I gave her an unsatisfactory out of spite. I overenthusiastically provided the 15 odd one-on-one documents that we had both signed discussing her poor habits around breaks, punctuality, and KPIs. Karen was told politely that this was not bullying, but me managing and setting expectations for performance. This wasn't the last time she took me to HR, but I would say I had about 5 different discussions from HR regarding bullying of her. They were all her word versus mine, but that time I had proof and could refute her bullying claims. She read every one-on-one doc from that moment. A few days later, I was in the toilet washing my hands, but I could hear people out in the foyer waiting for the elevator. It was the Karen and Sharon, the state manager. Karen was mocking and tearing me to shreds, and Sharon wasn't happy with the GM at the time either. I remember Karen very clearly saying, "OP is GM's mutt," and they all laughed. Apparently, I did all the GM's dirty work, which I reflect on now and laugh, as all I was doing was setting expectations to which we were to work under. Karen from that day always referred to me as Muttley behind my back. She even changed my name in her phone as Muttley. My team were providing me feedback that they are getting sick of her bad-mouthing me, which I really appreciated, as they had matured a lot and we were starting to build a strong culture aside from the ball breakers. GM called me into the office and advised me that my team, 15 FTE, would be working from home to free up desks, as we were not essential to be in the office. This was before COVID. The only catch is that one team member had to remain in the office in case someone walked in off the streets and needed information, or other unlikely scenarios where someone administrative intake had to be there. My revenge. Like clockwork, Karen would always take cigarette breaks at around 10 and would be gone anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, and would always be late or miss meetings if they were scheduled in that time, as it was her time to have a break with Sharon, the state manager. From our one-on-one catch-ups, the only thing she ever contributed positively for her development or future goals was the fact that she wanted to work from home. I came up with the perfect plan, relying on her behaviors for this to work. I scheduled a meeting at 10 a.m. via email and requested all my team that it be compulsory to attend due to important changes, and CC'd everyone important from our department into this email and invite. The day comes, 10 a.m., the meeting has started, and you guessed, she was out having a smoke. I asked everyone who would like to work from home, and everyone put their hand up. I advised that there needs to be one person who does remain working from the office, and asked if anyone wanted to volunteer. No one volunteered. I smiled with joy, as I had given forewarning that this was an important meeting, and the GM and another GM of a brother department were also in attendance, giving Karen no hope of arguing. She came in 15 minutes late with a coffee in her hand just as we were wrapping up and was wondering why everyone was so happy. One of the team said, "We get to work from home." She smiled and was like, "Great, when do we start working from home?" I looked up and grinned. "Because you didn't attend the meeting, all the available working from home spots were allocated. You'll be required to still come into the office." She was livid and even threw her pen that was tucked behind her ear at the ground. "Why didn't you come and get me? You knew I wanted to work from home," she spat. I discussed in front of the team, the GMs, and Karen that it was compulsory to attend this meeting, which was clearly stated, and I'm not responsible for the time management of your day, as you're an adult. Her BFF Sharon also received some bad news. Her position was made redundant and was demoted to another department and office, which meant Karen's biggest ally was no longer around to support her. The team transitioned into working from home and I still came into the office. Why did I come into work? Because I wanted to keep Karen accountable by sitting next to her every day. The team took to working from home so well and productivity went through the roof. I still remember sitting next to her and saying good morning in a nice loud voice to her. Karen had no one to manipulate, no one to bitch to, and no one to whisper poison to about me anymore. Well, no one that cared. As I mentioned earlier, she used to call me Muttley behind my back, so on my 3 screens, I put the background as Muttley, and my work mobile ringtone was now Muttley's laugh. She would have heard Muttley's laugh 20 times per day. As expected, I saw her on a job website looking for jobs and blatantly not caring if I saw. I got a phone call from my previous employer, Megan, who I was still on good speaking terms with, and Megan asked if I worked with a Karen. I said I did, and Megan told me Karen had applied for a role at Happy Care, not a real name, asked me to speak about Karen's character, and wondered why I wasn't listed as a reference. We actually caught up for a drink, and I told Megan the whole story of how Karen was lazy, a manipulator, and just not a nice person. Karen was applying for a management position, and I advised heavily against hiring Karen. Megan called Karen right then and there and asked about her references and her current supervisor. She discussed that her manager was her BFF Sharon, the former state manager, and was a great mentor, but she was outgrowing the role and opportunity to grow was limited. Megan told her that she is not going to offer her an interview, let alone the role, as she was not transparent about her work history and falsifying references. I can just imagine how confused Karen would have been. The next morning I sat down and told Karen, Megan from Happy Care says hello. Karen just stared at her keyboard wide-eyed and not saying a word. Karen ended up finding another job before COVID hit. They never called me for a reference check. For her departing gift, I made a Muttley "We will miss you" card that the whole team signed. I wanted to make one where you open it up and he laughs, but Karen was not worth the $45 it required to create it. No one actually wrote anything meaningful other than "all the best in your new role." We had cake and virtual drinks for Karen's goodbye. Karen and I were sitting next to each other zooming the rest of the team, and Karen left about 10 minutes in. I walked her out, took her pass, and wished her all the best. I started working from home the very next day and still am to this day. The sweetest part of this story, the most satisfying part of this saga, is that her new job was made redundant because of COVID, and she reapplied for her old job back. We were not actually hiring, but I made an exception and made Karen interview via Zoom with my 2IC, whom happened to be one of the young staff she used to talk crap to about me, and clued on early that Karen was vile. We started the interview. She couldn't have been more sweet, nice, and two-faced. Her face was still as antagonizing as ever, and I could smell her perfume through the computer. It was still as offensive as it was in person. The interview was over in 5 minutes. I waited an hour and called Karen. "You don't deserve this role. You haven't earned it." So I first thought that it was a horrible idea having Karen go into the office until OP said that they were going in as well. I think if she was left alone, she wouldn't have done any work and would have just sat there all day doing nothing. On the bright side of things, she can take smoke breaks for as long as she wants now. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Accepts Compliments, in which I take umbrage at the rude man on the phone. Let's jump right in. Warning, there is no hero in this story. A guy was a butthole to me, and I was a bigger butthole back. Honestly, I probably went too far. One day, I got a sales call from this company I'm investing with, trying to sell me more investment. Wasn't against it, so I let the sales guy talk, asked my questions, then told him I wasn't interested once it became obvious it wasn't what I wanted. This guy was persistent though. He kept asking why I wasn't interested, then told me he was going to email me a bunch of documentation to help me make my decision. So he emails me some stuff that I don't read and calls me again the next day. I tried to politely tell him that this was a waste of both of our times, but then it got weird. Let's call the guy Jack. "Did you even read any of the stuff I sent you yesterday?" "No. Like I told you, I'm not interested." "So you're a liar then?" "Excuse me?" He went on to complain because, according to him, I told him I was going to invest in his offer, but then pulled out at the last minute. I told him I didn't say anything of the sort. I simply let him make his pitch, then told him I wasn't interested. Just because he pushes and follows up against my will doesn't magically change any of this. Secondly, this call is crazy unprofessional. How are you going to survive in sales if you start yelling at everyone who says no to you? The call gets really heated at this point. I think my guy was holding in some serious frustration because he unloaded a bunch of insults on me in a wildly disproportionate way. In response, I started kneeling and insulting him back, infuriating him further, culminating in him reading my address over the phone to intimidate me and making threats about how he's going to come over and hurt me. It wasn't my address, it was my office address, but the intent was there. I was pissed after this, and not being able to let it go, I weighed my options. Sending in a complaint was the easiest option and would almost certainly have led to him getting punished for it, but it was also way too formal and impersonal. For the sake of my ego, I needed the satisfaction of actually delivering a personal blow. So, knowing what offices and sales teams are like, I decide to embarrass him. I run my own business, and we send a lot of cold emails. As such, I have access to a bunch of tools and processes to gather email addresses from a given business domain. I get to work, find about 60 company emails, and bulk send the following email to everyone on this list except for Jack. Hey there, I'm trying to reach Jack in sales. Please forward this to him if you know him, as I don't have his email. Hi Jack, just following up on our phone call from earlier today, the one where you called me a lying C and a son of a whore because I didn't want to give you money, then read out my address over the phone and threatened to hurt me. I know it's frustrating when you don't make a sale, but whining about it and insulting the lead isn't going to help you. Here's a YouTube link where I uploaded a recording of your rant for your convenience. Link. I thought maybe you can go through it and learn how to control your emotions better in the future. Thanks. Note, please don't read this or view the link if you're not Jack in sales. I timed the email to hit everyone's inbox around 8 a.m. This way, it would be at the top of everyone's inbox as they started their day, and there wouldn't be any time for anyone higher up to become aware of the email and wipe it from everyone's inboxes before it's seen, just in case that was a possibility. Over the next 24 hours, I got a bunch of emails from random people asking if the recording is real. A couple from people saying they can't believe he said that stuff. Another death threat from Jack, and an urgent message from my regular account manager asking if I can please set up a time for a call to discuss my recent experience. Also, the YouTube upload has almost 100 views. Laugh out loud. This is a great revenge, and I would say you didn't go too far. He will get to learn a lesson that he probably should have learned a long time ago, and as a bonus, you may get a few perks from the company to keep this incident between you and them. They'll probably require you to take down the YouTube recording, but at this point, it's really served its purpose. Very well played. Thank you to both OPs for posting their stories in the ProRevenge subreddit. They are linked in the description down below. Please go check them out. Check out one of these other videos, and if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories.